Oh, there's a house that we can build, and every room. Run away to a world that we design. We'll see you all next week, and we'll let a lot go global. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good evening and welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Joshua Solomon, and with me as always is the Honorable J.P. Marzullo. And he can't say that fast to save his life.
I can't, nope.
I don't speak that fast. You should do one of those ads, you know, where you have to get all that information in like 10 seconds, right?
Micro machines.
Yeah, micro machines, exactly. So I guess we're going to have snow this weekend, so don't put your flannels away yet.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
we
it's talking about snow.
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah, that really wasn't snow. It was like a couple of flakes.
Snow. It was enough to bother me because I had to, the next day, because I had workers at the house, I needed people to get in and out of the garage. I need to move my motorcycles out of the garage so that they could move around, and there was still ice on the back driveway from that little nothing.
Yeah, we were okay in Deering. We just had some snow, but nothing important.
We got some coming. I thought we were done.
No, we're not.
It's
you. March.
I told you. I'm talking to my wife now. She said that she thought we were done with it on Saturday, and I said, "Well, you just jinxed it." And
yeah, she did. It's her fault then.
It is. It's
good.
My wife's
I can blame
fault.
Lorraine.
Everybody can blame her.
There you go.
As always, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades is sponsored by the Wilson Hill Pistol Club, 1732 Lakeshore Road, wilsonhillpistol.org. You can get all the information about the club, the meeting nights, which is the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. right after this show, and training. Also, we have coming up the gun show in Concord. That's at the
arena there.
The arena, the Everett Arena.
Yep.
That is next Saturday, April 5th. That's an all-day item. And then the following Saturday, April 12th, we're going to have our Try a Gun at the club at 1732 Lakeshore Road. We will have dozens and dozens of pistols of all different sizes, makes, including new and exotic things that you can try under the close supervision of our NRA and safety instructors and range officers such as myself. So that's on April 12th.
Yep.
Getting on. All right. Our guest tonight is
Chrissy Cantor.
Chrissy Cantor. No. I had your name.
Yes. Alderman.
Alderman.
Yes. Alderman.
I gotta remember what position all of our guests have. So, Chrissy, how you doing?
I'm
You've
good.
Been an alderman for 2 years now.
Yes, 2 years now in Ward 6.
And the last time we saw you, you were running for the first time in a special election.
In a special election.
You won. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
So where is Ward 6? Not
Ward 6
wards,
is Massabesic area, Lakeshore, Candia Road, Hanover Street.
Okay, got it.
East side.
Okay.
So you're our alderman for the club.
Yes, yes, and I am a member.
Yes,
I
you
took
are.
an amazing course with Ken Tassi, who's the chair of the Republican Party of Manchester, and it was amazing. It was
Cool.
awesome.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's what we need.
So we're locked and loaded with kindness.
It's amazing. All of the conservatives and Republicans out there across the country, all trained and locked and loaded and carrying, and
Yeah.
not one of them has shot up a Tesla lot.
We're pretty chill.
Who's shooting up the Tesla lots? Who's blowing those places up? Is
Oh
it
my
the
God.
conservatives? Is it the gun nuts? No, it's not.
Did you
I don't-
No.
see the thing on the news where this guy was keying a car up at Mount Washington?
I
and
heard
they
about it.
caught him.
Oh, it was a Cybertruck
Yeah,
that has a camera on. These people don't know that these cars are all about technology. You are on camera if you're within 10 feet of a Tesla.
Yep. And
Period.
he said he didn't do it, and they said, "We have you on video. You're toast." So I thought it was
Caught
pretty cool.
on camera.
Absolutely.
On that subject, I don't want to change the subject, but on
No,
that
it's all
subject, one of the wacko federal reps is calling for a nationwide revolt
Crotchet
against
from Texas.
against Tesla
Congresswoman.
on March 29th.
That's her
so
birthday.
If you drive, exactly. If you, we don't need to celebrate it. I wasn't even going to mention that part. All right. If you drive a Tesla or you work at a Tesla lot, be careful on the 29th because they're
It's awful.
They're all a bunch of
It's
wackadoodles.
Unacceptable.
It's amazing.
really
It is.
scary.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
scary.
Yeah,
And
you know, they spend their entire narrative trying to say how violent conservatives are, and conservatives were not the ones who took over Portland or did all the BLM riots.
Right.
The only people promoting violence in this country are liberals and Democrats.
Yeah,
That's true.
absolutely. Yeah, I'll have to get my Uncle Nuncio to take care of them. I can have him come up here with his violin case. People think he's going to play music, and that's not what he's up for. Anyway.
well,
So-
I think we all believe in peace through strength.
Sure, of course
know?
you do.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
No one bothers me because
You're strong.
I am on TV every day talking about guns, or every week talking about guns. So they
So-
know to avoid my place.
So let's find out.
Respect.
Yeah. So you're running for mayor.
Yes, running for mayor.
And why have you decided to run for mayor?
Okay. I have decided to run for mayor because I love our city, and I believe that Jay Rouet, Mayor Jay Rouet, has failed on his promises, and he ran on not hiring our taxes, which is false. He immediately came out with a higher budget since Mayor Baines. Since then, he has the highest increase in taxes. So for me, there's like a lot of things that came into place. It wasn't just that one thing. It was allowing the Beach Street School to happen, the $80 million school. So to me, I believe in, when people talk about equity for the children.
Sure.
And really, it's like we need to be taking care of all the schools, not just 3 of the schools. And we should have had a master plan. So there's like a lot of moving parts on why I was like really upset. And that's why my final straw was allowing the school department to take over the city, the beautiful park in the inner city, and put an $80 million school there.
Is that where that was going to go?
Yeah, that's where it's going to go. So that was approved, and I was like, that's just the end of it. We're going to be taxed out of our homes.
Yeah.
So we already have a homeless crisis. We already have lack of housing. And now it's going to just keep getting worse and worse. So, I mean, out of control spending. And, he said he was going to fix the homeless problem. He's just pushed it to the outskirts of Manchester. So to me, it's like we need to be transparent and accountable. And the other thing is when he came into office, we won, 7 of us, conservative Manchester people helped him win. And for him to just immediately go start working the Democrats first. So this is how it works. He worked with the Democrats, and then he comes and he influences a few of the Republicans. to come to their side. To me, if you're really bipartisan, you work with everyone and everyone has a seat at the table. That's not really how it's been working.
Yeah, I mean, initially, for years, they were not political type elections. They were just to vote for the same, I mean, for the best person to do the job. And like you said, it was a bipartisan thing. Most of the cities, that's why the state party never got involved with them at the time. However, I think that's changed some now, where they have. And you're an alderman now.
I'm an alderman.
So you must hear this stuff on a, how often do you meet?
Twice a month.
Twice a month. So these issues must come up then, right? And how many aldermen do you have?
There's 14.
14.
12 wards and 2 at large.
Okay.
Aldermen.
So Joe Kelly's an at-large.
Yes.
Right. So.
And Dan O'Neill is an at-large as well.
So what's the split of
Republicans and
Democrats?
Democrats?
I'm just curious
it's
now.
7 and 7.
Oh, okay.
So originally, when I won the special election, I was one of 3 Republicans. And to me, I'm a Manchester girl. I'm like, Manchester first. We've got to be protecting our own people. And right now, we are not. You know, with the homeless shelter, anyone, when you build something, they will come.
Yeah.
And so out-of-state people have come.
Yeah,
all
I've
people
seen that.
from different communities have come because of all the free access to needles, which is horrible, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, passing out needles, we're not helping anyone. We're getting them one step closer to overdosing. We're getting them one step closer to more crime and one step further away from their families and one step further away from really helping themselves. So passing out needles is dangerous. And they can, you know, talk about harm reduction. No. When someone picks up a needle on the ground after it's been used, that's when the harm is really being created. Never mind the fact that they've already shot up. So we're giving them paraphernalia, you know, to use their drugs. So we're not helping them.
That's a very good point. We're passing out free drug paraphernalia.
Yes.
But if a police officer stops you and has probable cause to search and finds drug paraphernalia, that's a crime. You can be charged for that. We're giving people the materials that can get them arrested 10 minutes from now.
Yes. And so if they commit a crime after they've shot up with the needles, whose fault is that?
That's a good question.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe the city's liable.
It sounds like it.
You know? I mean...
I kind of feel a little bit like that with Narcan, because once everybody had a Narcan needle to stop them from dying, they were throwing Narcan parties.
Yes.
And they would shoot up. They knew they could come right back. At least they hoped they could.
I know.
And I thought that was kind of a crazy way to attack, to attack that issue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, never mind the cost of all of that, right?
Yeah.
We hear the stories where paramedics got to Narcan somebody 3, sometimes 4 times.
Yeah.
Right? In a single shot.
Yeah.
And then they wake up. Bail reform lets them walk out on the street, and they're right back at it within minutes, or even hours, or hours, or even minutes. I mean, it doesn't take that long. Or with bail reform, you're not going to be sitting here long. Now, go ahead, walk home. Pass your buyer's house on the way over, and it's all everything. All of it works together to be the enabling issues here. Hopefully, we're getting rid of that. We got bail reform was just signed.
Yep.
Kelly signed it yesterday or today?
Yesterday. I was there. I was grateful and honored to be up there and witness it, and it's just awesome. We needed it.
Sure. Yeah, and so you got people complaining. Well, now we're going to fill up the system, and
it's going to cost
nonviolent people are going to be in there, and you're going to have. Well, yeah, but you're also going to have people in there who are forced to sober up over the weekend, right? And
that's how we save lives.
Yes.
That's how we really make a difference. And I know personally, because my brother had to face hard consequences and go to jail to actually see the light and get sober. And I've helped with another friend that was homeless. I said, he's not homeless anymore. He's rebuilt his relationship with his mother, but he had been in using drugs for well over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And when he got sober afterwards, I said, and I saw him at church and everything, and I'm like, what was your breaking point? When did you say no
Enough
more,
is enough, right?
enough? And he said, when there were consequences where I was going to be going to jail, he chose to take the road to recovery and go, all right, I'm just going to go here because I don't want to go to jail. So people don't realize, like, that is really, that's like love. There's accountability is love. It's truly compassion for other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
to give them hope, to give them that break to sober up and go, hey, I can do it. And guess what? He is doing it, and he did it.
That's awesome.
And I think he's like 18 months clean and sober.
That's fantastic.
Good. Yeah, and we've discussed that exact thing on this show before concerning bail reform, because bail reform is going to have a huge effect on Manchester, and should have a huge effect on, well, it should be a subject that comes up during your campaign, right?
Yes.
But we've talked about the idea that bail reform allowed people to get back out on the street within minutes. And there were no consequences. But prior to that, one of the things, and it's the big complaint, oh, we got nonviolent people. People are just, they're down on their luck and they're stuck in prison. Well, that's the sobering up part, because when you spend the weekend in jail, spend the night in jail, whatever, you are forced to sober up.
Yeah.
Right? You got to come down off that high.
Yeah.
And while you're there, we have all of these volunteers, and we have Pastor Walter Money come on every December to talk about, he goes in and he proselytizes to prison down in Massachusetts, and he has, and so you've got all of these services. You've got ministers, you've got drug addiction centers. We've got all of these people who go to the jails on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, and they have all of these programs and all of this information that they offer to the inmates, even if they're there only temporarily. Here, we can help you. Come see us. Here's our contact information. And if you are not sitting in that jail cell overnight, you are not exposed to that information. You don't have access to all of these programs. Jail, at least for the overnight or over the weekend, and that is long enough to at least get exposed to these programs that can help these people. And bail reform took that away.
Yeah, it did.
So.
It did, and we needed it back. And finally, after how many years? 5 years? 5 years it took. And how many people have suffered? And then as soon as you get out, how many people have committed more crimes? So what a blessing yesterday was.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So that I'm hopeful that that's going to have a huge impact, especially on our major cities: Nashua, Concord, Manchester, Dover, Portsmouth. That should help quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what kind of things are coming up in the Alderman meetings that are just making you upset? Because you're absolutely right. When you first got into office, there was only 3 Republicans on that board. Since then, Manchester has elected plenty more. And we've swapped the seat in the
Senate.
mayor's office
and the Senate.
Yes.
And
Victoria Sullivan,
everything
amazing.
is moving towards a conservative base, right? Where this is working, this is happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about what Jay's doing, but I haven't heard much.
Well,
right?
he has
but all indicators are he kind of has a mandate to do all the conservative things and not work so closely with the other side.
So that's why it doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I've been heavily disappointed. I have been not completely silent, because I would talk on my show that, hey, promises made, promises not kept, and it's really important. If we're going to run on something, we need to follow through. And there was no reason for him not to follow through on cutting taxes, and there's no reason for it. We have a homeless crisis. We have a housing problem. Why would you raise taxes? We're going to unhouse more people. This is insanity.
Is the majority of that the school? Or the school board? I mean, because like every other town, and we've discussed
out of control
this,
spending.
The school boards are out of control. It's 63%
Yes.
of my town's tax burden is the school board.
Yeah.
And of course, they're going to use the Department of Education as an excuse to raise that. But that is an absolutely false narrative.
So for me, with the school department, the
And they
insanity
have more
of how
power
much money.
in Manchester, don't they? Don't they have the
Yes.
power just to say it without putting
Yeah,
it to a vote?
Yes, they are in control of their own.
Budget.
Yes, yes. The city gives them their money, well, the state as well, but
and they decide how to use
they
it.
decide. So to me, I wouldn't have decided to pull the kids out of the schools and have $25.5 million in portable classrooms without a full plan of what matters to all the schools.
So is that what they're doing now?
So that's what they did. They spent $25.5 million on portables, when in fact 10 years ago, even Mayor Baines was like, get our kids out of the portables. These are awful. So fast forward to now, there was supposed to be state-of-the-art $25 million. I think they were supposed to be $15 million, but now it's like $25.5 million.
Going to
So they're
portables.
in portables. So they moved 5th grade up to the middle schools, and they put them in the portables. And so
geez.
now it's like, oh, that's why Jay's like, oh, we need to get him out of the portables. Well, I'm like, well, I thought these were state-of-the-art portables for $25.5 million.
Right.
I mean, they should be more than a, tuna can. That's what they look like, is tuna cans.
Are they round? They're not. They
No,
don't-
but I'm thinking
don't-
about the siding, the silver siding of a tuna can.
I have this, I have this vision of a whole bunch of little saucers.
So what other things, when you're out campaigning, or you may not do that anymore?
No, I'll definitely be campaigning.
Okay, so
I'm
are you going to
pretty
go
much-
door to door?
I'll be going door to door.
Okay, so if somebody, what do you have to say to the person when you knock on the door, other than, they're probably going to ask you why you're running. I mean,
Yes.
most people ask that no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And then they may ask, what are you going to bring to the table that we don't already have, or that's there that we need to get rid of?
Okay, well, I'm going to bring full transparency and full accountability to City Hall. That's how I see it. And I do not believe there's full transparency and accountability. There should be more accountability with the school department. How they asked for $306 million and didn't really tell us exactly what we were going to get for the schools. And the fact that the enrollment is down, why would they need a bigger budget when enrollment is down and their grades aren't even up? So what is going on? Why can the other schools, the charter schools and all the private schools, do better for our kids than when we're spending more money per pupil in Manchester?
How much are you spending per pupil right now?
You know what? I don't want to be quoted on that exactly, but it's definitely higher than what the average. I remember. Is it Bishop Girton that's paying? It's like $17,000 per student, and they're like maybe third in the state,
right?
And we're like bottom fourth. Don't quote me exactly, but it's like from top to bottom.
Yeah,
we're spending more per pupil.
And the average numbers are down for the kids.
Yes, and the kids are not getting the IEPs, so that's a problem as well. So, and it gets brushed under the rug. So there's a lot of things getting brushed.
The school budget is not public?
Well, it's,
We got a big number, but we don't have a line item, and the alderman can't even see what the
Well, we
school
can
budget-
kind of see it, but not really. I mean, they're just going to do
You're
what
gonna
they want.
hide it some way. The school board is.
Yeah,
right?
DEI.
Yeah.
And
The leadership roles of DEI, which is insanity.
So we just passed in our town some transparency. These are citizen submitted warrant articles where we're going to start publishing the town's check register on the website. And the school's check register on the website. So we know exactly
That's
what
pretty
checks
cool.
are being written to who.
With which
And so,
businesses.
and so we have that type of transparency. That's the kind of transparency a larger school district. The idea that they have the power to just set their budget and then tell the city that this is what you're going to give us.
they're going to ask for
Sure.
everything.
Yeah. They always do.
They always do. But to me, it just doesn't make sense. You have less students,
Right.
but your budget keeps growing and growing and growing.
Right.
And then where is I can't remember the exact number, but it was like, I don't know if it was extreme amount of COVID money.
Right. Where'd that go?
Where'd that go?
Right.
What did it really fund?
Yeah. Trips to the
I mean, you
Bahamas.
can look, everything's itemized, but what is that really? How did it really benefit the students
So
and the
as-
teachers? Like, we should be, helping the teachers with everything. I also feel, I'm going to go back to the whole COVID thing with our kids being masked for so long
Yep.
and them all, well, first of all, them not going back to school for a long period of time, and Governor Sununu had to force them back into school in Manchester. So all of that, I mean, it's really disrupted their schooling
So
for
I'm
so
gonna-
long, and the masks.
Yeah, I think I look at something a little different with homeschooling during COVID.
Yep.
The parents found out exactly how bad the school systems were, because they wouldn't have
So
known
true.
the
that.
teachers are very upset that parents could look over the shoulder
Right.
and see what was going on
Right.
in the classroom on the computer.
Right, right. So I think that was a good thing, quite frankly.
No, I think it was a blessing,
It was a good
but
thing.
An
then
eye-opener as
it
well.
was an eye opener.
Absolutely.
So we'll take the blessings with the catastrophes.
Yeah.
But it's really affected the children and their lack of, being held back.
Yeah.
When
that's-
you can't communicate with people and you're wearing a mask for so long.
that's even
Here we
worse.
are, we're out and about with no masks on, but everyone in the
kids.
school was forced to wear a mask.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's like, come on, and that's the leadership we have. Like, as the leaders,
Well,
you
that's
should have
the
been
school
fighting.
leadership,
Well, that's
and
what I mean. The
there's-
school leadership.
There's not a lot that we can do about that because the administrators are going to hire, whoever they want to hire, and it's always
Mm-hmm.
going to be, NEA backed, and that's part of the whole dismantling of the Department of Education at the federal level
Mm-hmm.
is to we've got to dismantle that hierarchy as well at the local level.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I totally agree. I guess my thing is they were making bad decisions during the
Yep, and they're
COVID
trying to
times.
continue.
And they're continuing, and Mayor Jay Rouet has not made any changes, and he's been the leader of the school board. So
I think
as a leader, you should be able to share your good ideas, share your, if he really is about transparency for parents to be more involved, which he says he is, why isn't there any policy changes and so forth for that?
I think, the fact that you're going to tell people what you stand for as opposed to just saying what you're against,
Yeah.
I think that's crucial in today's campaigns because you can look at any of the people on TV, any of the, the media, and
Yeah.
it's always they're against this, they're against that. But when you kind of corner them and say, okay, so you're against all that stuff, what are you for? What do you, what do you plan on doing? And I would think that would be something important in this race. Like, what other things are you going to focus on?
I'm going to focus in on accountability and law and order and make sure that people are really being held accountable for even their small crimes. So to me, when someone can be just out on the streets using drugs, that is a crime.
Yeah.
They should be taken in.
So there's a policy that needs to be set with the police department, instead of looking the other way on these, because I think we see it all across the country. They're looking the other way on things. It's starting to normalize these behaviors.
It is normalizing these behaviors.
And because they're focusing on bigger issues. We hear it all the time. The police don't want to get involved in domestic situations, right? Unless there's violence taking place. A parent can have a court order in their hand saying, hey, I have a court order that I have custody of these children, and the police don't want to do anything about it, right?
So it's like, what are we supposed to do?
This is my visitation weekend, right? And one parent is holding, and the police refuse to do anything about it, even though that's their job. Here's a court order signed by a judge, signed by a magistrate. that child was supposed to be spending the next 24 hours with me, and the police don't get involved. So it starts there, the whole domestic thing, the family thing, but they start looking the other way, and they start saying, we're not going to bother ourselves with that. You need to go to court for that, and then it trickles down to, well, everybody smokes weed on the street, so let them smoke weed. Oh, well, you know, those 5 guys over there are shooting up, let this guy shoot up, right? Like the mentality of, you know, that enforcement, it may sound, you know, a little 1984-ish, but we need to have a police force come in and start enforcing the existing laws. I mean, isn't that the case with gun laws? Enforce the existing laws and we won't have the issues, right?
Well, that's it. Let's just enforce the laws on the books
Let's
right now.
enforce it instead of just looking the other way. You know, we have this entire set of actual criminal code violations that the local police departments are just ignoring on purpose. So I agree with that.
So do you?
We just need to set the policy. The mayor needs to set the policy.
Right.
The government needs to set the policy to the police force, and you need to have a police chief that's willing to implement the mayor's policies.
Is there any way people can find out how you vote as an alderman?
Yes, I'm sure you can just call the city clerk.
And
you know
ask-
what? I need to
Ask that.
find that
I'll
out
bet you
exactly.
there's a website,
Because-
even if it's a third-party website,
Yeah.
I'll bet
Yeah.
you there's a website that has that information.
And if not, we'll start a website.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's really important to
Yeah.
know how they voted.
Well, it's
how
like
we
at
vote.
the State House, they'll yell roll call.
Yeah.
And when a roll call comes, that means your name's gonna be attached to that bill,
Yeah.
for
Forever.
yay or nay forever. Right. And we had John Bird on last week, and John
He
was.
loved to call roll
Oh
call.
yeah, he would be. You know, they'd be in the middle of an argument, you know, from one side to the other, and John would go up and call roll call before the vote. You know, before they voted, you have to do it like immediately, and put people on record. And I would think that. That's what, I mean, if I were going to vote for you or somebody else, I'd want to know how they voted. How did you vote on men staying out of women's sports? Was that even an
Exactly.
issue? Did that come up?
So for me, it has come up, and I've been called transphobic because I don't believe boys should be in girls' bathrooms.
Yep.
Vice versa. I do not think that any of that. That is
Right.
just, that does not work for me. That's just unacceptable.
I don't understand.
It doesn't work for anybody.
It is
I'm like, it's just
absolutely a
insanity.
mental disorder. And the mental disorder, I'm not even talking about the trans, I'm talking about the liberals who support it. Because we have literally 6,000 years of human history where men and women do not share the same private spaces. And all of a sudden, in the last 5 years, we've decided that, like, society has got to where it is today because we have these basic primal rules in place. Men and women do not share spaces, period.
Unless you're.
Period.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It should be that simple. But the
Yeah,
crazy
why are we
thing
even
is,
talking about it, right?
I know. Well,
Really.
because we have some people, which blows my mind, when women go, oh, anyone who identifies as a female is allowed in our club. And I'm like, you know what? That is just insanity. A female. So that means if you identify as a female,
I can be
you
in
know,
the club?
Yeah.
I envision all of these liberal wackadoos at home in front of their mirrors practicing saying these things without cracking a smile, right? Without they have to practice to say it with a straight face because it's so absurd.
Well, there's this
absurd.
state rep, Noah, I don't know his last name, he's from Peterborough.
Noah
He's a
Wheeler.
Yeah, and he's a transgender, and he voted against men playing in women's sports, and they attacked him like something terrible. And they had a town meeting in Peterborough the other night, and they he was attacked constantly, but he stood firm. And
Well, it sounds like
that
he's
takes
somewhat
some courage.
Well, that's why I said
Yeah.
it's a mental disorder, not necessarily with the trans people, because however you look at it, that's someone who, okay, this is how I'm going to live, this is how I'm going to present myself to the world, but I'm not going to force the rest of the world into this.
Yeah.
you know, whatever
We're
you
all
want to call
different.
it.
We
right?
can respect each
but
other,
that's
but-
the thing. Okay, fine. If that's how you want to present yourself, no conservative has ever had a problem with that.
So isn't this?
But it's when you start forcing it on the masses
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
the problem.
This is National Women's Month, I think, right? So the president just had all of the women that he's put into their cabinet and stuff, and it's amazing.
Silence.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is, and he's done a great job with that. But
I mean, what is the Secretary of the Treasury is a gay man? Is it the Treasury?
Treasury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the highest ranking cabinet member to
Yeah.
ever be part of the LGBT community.
Right.
And silence. Nobody sees it, right?
Nope.
This is someone who is a fiscally responsible conservative, but he happens to be gay, and nobody's paying attention. No, and that's exactly the way it should be.
Right.
But
Right. In a lot of ways, that's
you know. But the problem is that they want to celebrate. What were the images from the Biden administration were just
Oh no.
the one guy who liked to steal luggage from the airport.
Oh, that was
God.
crazy.
That really was crazy.
That was really crazy.
It's amazing to me how we go through these things. I don't know what the percentage, but it's like 0.1% of the population is trans.
Right.
But we're supposed to change the
And
way
as
we
a whole,
think
only
toward them.
3% of the population is LGBT.
Right. I think that's high, maybe.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's an absurd thing that we have to even be discussing.
So we got sidetracked again.
So
I
So
know.
you're going door
No,
to door.
I will be going door to door, yes.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
When is the election?
In September.
In September. So
Yes, in
do you know
September.
who else has anybody stepped up on the other side that we're not supposed to talk about that are because we're bipartisan, right? I mean, has a Democrat stepped up or
Maybe Joe O'Connell?
Joe O'Connell? I know that
Oh
name.
my God.
Why
School
do I
board.
know?
School board.
School board.
Chairman of the school board.
Oh wow.
Maybe. I'm not
That's
too sure
interesting.
exactly.
And so, yeah, I mean, the question people would ask is, why are you, as a conservative, running against Jay? Because what happens?
Yes.
What happens, as you know, and we've talked about this on the show.
Yeah.
If you have two candidates that are going back to back and they're going against each other, and then you have somebody over here who nobody really cares about, but these two split the vote. This person they don't care about wins, and then here we are, right? I mean,
Well,
so
there is a primary, so whoever wins the primary, those two go forward.
right, but it's not.
So it's not a partisan primary. It's
No,
just
it's
a
just
primary
it's just
to
a
top
reduce
two
this down
votes.
to 2.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
And then,
Okay.
So for me, I wouldn't be running if Jay was conservative. It's just that simple. If he was truly conservative with how he governed, I would not be running. And it's not just one time, it's plenty of times over and over and over again. So, we'll see how his budget comes out on Thursday. There's the
he's got
budget
another
address.
budget Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see how his budget is this time. But to me, I am not going to be funding I would not be funding any kind of needles. Like,
Right.
to me, getting rid of the needles, holding people accountable for their, I mean, we've got a health crisis on our hands with homelessness. We've got a drug addiction. We're not talking about the people that are down and out and that need a hand up. We're talking about the people that just are taking advantage of the system. They let all their friends know from different parts of the state, so they come, they get their free stuff in Manchester, they do their drugs here, they get their needles here, they steal. This is a problem. So we have a behavior problem, a drug epidemic, and a health crisis because they're just leaving their trash and everything else everywhere. So then our budget explodes for DPW, and then DPW and all the other people that are out there picking up the litter have to be exposed to all their trash. And as a good person, we just want to keep helping these people, but we're actually not helping them. When we keep giving them stuff and they leave it behind, they don't respect it. I mean, you think about what happened under the bridge under Joyce Craig.
Yep.
So, it's build it and they will come. Then she opened up 39 Beach Street. And then Jay keeps pushing to fund it more and more. So more people are coming. It's just, we have the highest homeless rate across the country is increased, like 51% increase in homeless.
So what because we keep providing them with those tools.
Yes.
So really the answer is to stop. But how do you stop completely? But the idea is, you know, put the word out. Manchester does no longer supplies needles. We no longer supply Narcan. I mean, take that away.
Yeah.
We're not supplying Narcan anymore.
Yeah.
And let's reduce the number of homeless beds that are available in the city. I know that sounds awfully cruel, especially in the winter months. But if the beds don't exist, then outside towns aren't going to say, well, Manchester has 100 free beds.
Well,
no, we don't.
Yeah, having done all this stuff with Liberty House, you know, when I was the chairman of the board there, we have rules. And we check them all the time. So we don't, there are no rules.
So that's the problem.
If it's a city-funded shelter, here are the rules. If you don't abide by them,
see you later.
Out you go.
There are no rules, and I have been screaming from the hilltops of Manchester before Jay Rouet got in. I was complaining about this low barrier shelter, and when he said he was going to get in, we're going to make it a high barrier. He gets in, no high barrier, no, ignore. And he's like, well, we can't, if we accept funds, then we can't make it a high barrier. I'm like, well, then we shouldn't accept funds if we can't make it a high barrier, because guess what? People in there, and I've known people, older women that didn't feel comfortable, didn't feel safe. They're sex offenders, people like allegedly running drugs. I mean, this is not good. And this has happened over the years. Like, you know, you provide a space where people have free places to stay, and then they end up just feeding their addiction. So we're not helping people.
No, I think, you know, back in the day, churches and volunteer groups used to take care of this stuff, and you'd have, you know, a soup kitchen, and you would feed them. And then when Sherman was in
Charlie Sherman.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I helped him. We did, you know, Thanksgiving there, and but you get people coming up in Mercedes, opening their trunks and loading it with stuff, and we had to go and say, wait a minute now.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Like,
really?
that's awful.
Seriously? But that happened. I saw it with my own eyes, and it was like, really? And they were from out of state. So there you go.
How sad.
This is one of those things, because we have places like the Liberty House, and we have, what other programs have we had on here? We've had lots of programs on here. These are privately funded programs. A lot of them are for military vets. But they work because they have rules, and because they don't take federal money, and they can make their rules. And they work and are proven successful. Again, privatization, right?
Absolutely.
And I've asked, I mean, you've heard me ask, how do we make this work for the general population? And the way we do it is we tell the towns, hey, we're not taking federal money anymore. We're going to open up a shelter that does not take federal money.
We need donations.
And, you know, that donation process just needs to be, that needs to be what needs to be refined, right? We need to mimic the Liberty House, but we need to mimic it for the general population, and it needs to have rules. And I think it's definitely doable, but the only way it's doable is if you get the swamp politicians to be not addicted to the federal money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would do it right away. I mean, Liberty House, we didn't take federal or state
because
money.
now you go back to the churches and the charities. And,
they're there.
And they're all there, and they all want to help.
You're right.
The problem is that everybody's beholden to the rules of federal money.
So here's
which cripple us in our community, and it ruins our community and brings more problems. So we're not helping them taking this money. We're actually ruining our community. Because then people aren't feeling safe in their neighborhoods. People don't feel safe coming down. I mean, the crime rate has gone up at around 39 Beach Street.
Yeah, I mean, we used to feel safe coming into town here, no longer really. I mean, it's hard. I mean, things were getting good.
Even when I started the show, I was perfectly fine, you know, and everything was fine on Elm Street where the show was originally taped. But then over the years, it just got worse and worse, where, you know, you're looking over your shoulder on Elm Street on any
which is
given
sad.
evening, and it's really too bad because we do have a good city here. It's just that mismanagement, blue cities. Liberal politicians just destroy it by sucking on the federal money.
The other thing is housing. So, I hear Jay talking about putting up all of these complexes and stuff, but I don't know where somebody that's not getting a lot of money, low-income housing, could move into them. I mean, I've checked some of the prices, and they're like, for
$3,500.
Yeah,
I know.
Is bottom line.
That's insane. I mean,
Out of control.
yeah. So how do you do that?
So who are we helping? Realistically, who are we helping?
Yeah,
and then as he keeps raising our taxes, people's rents are going to keep going up and up.
Oh, sure they are, of course.
So it's like, and there's so many landlords that they don't want to raise their rents.
Right.
But it's like,
they have to.
It's painful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
a tough. That's very
and
tough.
and that's a big thing. People talk about landlords being slumlords and all that stuff. They have got a razor-thin budget to maintain that building, and then when their taxes go up, they don't have a choice. Their choices are raise your rent if the taxes go up, or they sell the building to the first person who will buy it, and the first person who will buy it is immediately going to raise your rent. It's
That's
going to
true.
happen no matter what, because anyone buying the building is going to have to pay the mortgage on property, and property taxes have gone up, and property real estate is through the roof. Manchester has the highest rate of real estate inflation in the country.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I have several realtors in my family, and that is
Wow.
right. Manchester,
crazy.
Bedford area is the highest inflation rate of any real estate in the country over the last 2 years, and so that's why your rent is going up. And when you go to the polls and you start voting for all of these feel-good initiatives that are costing $400,000 here, $50,000 there, you're raising taxes. And when you raise taxes, you are telling your landlord to raise your rent.
Yeah.
Be careful about that.
That is so true.
People need to realize that, because I thought it was like the only people in my town that are paying taxes are the landowners. But then
Right.
everybody who rents in town is allowed to vote on all of those bills that raise the taxes on their own landlord, and they don't understand the chain of reaction there, right?
Yeah.
So
So I am about upholding, we got to flatline the taxes. This is out of control. We cannot, if we all cut our, whether it's not income, but cut our expenses through all these heavy times. I mean, have you?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
all right, I cut back on taking this off the shelf and,
Right.
different things.
Yep.
well, we've all
So
had
government has to
We're
do
not
too.
getting raises.
Yeah.
But government's getting a raise.
Yeah, and the
Right?
yes.
The teachers' unions are all getting raises. The
Yes.
police unions all getting raises. The fire unions all getting raises. And again, I don't begrudge anybody a raise, but if I'm giving all of these unions raises, tax out of tax money, and they're getting 4, 5, 10% raises every year, but the base tax-paying population hasn't seen a raise in 5 years, that's a problem. It's not sustainable.
So that's a good segue, because you're a small business owner too.
Yes.
And what do your taxes look like?
Oh, out of control.
Yeah.
For me, it's like we don't need not a dollar more. Enough is enough. We just need to be smarter with our money. And that's what we had to do all through COVID
Right.
and everything. So, I mean, my business was crushed completely.
Now, what kind of business do you have?
I have a spa business, so we do everything from manicures, pedicures, facials, spray tan, hair, a little bit of everything.
Do you have a...
Is that here in Manchester?
Yeah, it's right in Manchester, across from Manchester Auto Glass.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
Do you have a child in your family who's under 10 years old or so?
I do not.
Because if you did, you could apply for one of them small business loans from the federal government.
I heard about that.
$380 million to businesses owned by children under 11.
I know. And then wasn't there like a 9-month-old baby that had a
They had a
SBA
multi-million dollar SBA loan. Yeah.
I'm like, this is insanity.
The money's out there. You just have to know where to go get it.
Or how to get it, really.
Yeah.
So that had to hurt too, though. I mean,
Yeah. So I'm like, we're all
and you
cutting
stayed
back.
open the whole time?
We stayed open. So we shut down. So I believed the craziness. I believed the craziness for the beginning.
Yeah.
Being a mama bear, I'm like, oh my gosh, I believed it all, and then all of a sudden I started peeking my head out after I shut down my business a week before the governor asked us to shut our business down. I believed it because I was like, I went to a hair show in New York. They shut down New York City. I had a friend in Italy. So all you're hearing is the mass media.
Right.
And so I get back, being a mama bear, I'm like, okay. And then you just, I don't know, to me when they said we're closing the schools, I'm like, all right, everyone has to go home, take care of their kids, don't spend any money, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll
I think we
open up
all-
in 2 weeks.
We all did that. We're like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks to flatten the curve. I think
Yes.
there was such a mass media campaign on this worldwide. I think that we all fell into it.
Yep.
But I didn't fall so hard into it that I lost sight of the 2 weeks, because when the 2 weeks was up, I was like, okay, where are we, guys?
Oh.
And then when they started mandating jabs and handing out vaccination cards, I'm like, nope, I did not fall that hard.
Yeah, I
But
did not fall that
I think
hard.
we all fell hard enough that,
Yes.
okay, we'll shut down for a couple of weeks. But when it turned into 6 months, a year, and all of these mandates for masks and vaccinations, I was paying attention within 2 or 3 weeks. I was like, okay, how serious is this for real, and how much of this is just a bunch of baloney? And so I don't fault anybody for falling for in the beginning, but that 2 weeks of shut it down should have been 2 weeks of self-reflection and research.
Yes.
Right? That's what you should have been doing with that time, because those of us who did take that time to kind of figure out what was going on, we said, no, not taking that jab. Not doing it.
No, I didn't do it, and I lost family members. I got disowned.
Oh, I lost a lot of friends.
From my aunt, who was one of my favorite aunts, and it was beyond crushing. Me, I'm like, freedom of choice. What works for you might not work for me.
Yep.
But I opened my eyes in April when I was at my business, like just trying to maintain my sanity. I was keeping myself busy because I was home alone, and obviously I wasn't working because we weren't open. And I started looking outside, and I'm like, all those guys are jumping in the car together, and no one's dropping dead. What's going on?
Right.
And you're telling me I need to wear a mask, and I totally did. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right. So did you ever see outofshadows.org?
No.
Out of Shadows. It's a documentary about a stuntman in Hollywood, and he breaks it down. His name is Mike Smith. I highly recommend it. It's called Out of Shadows. If you go to outofshadows.org, and then it's an hour documentary how they've been conditioning us since we were little with the mass media and everything. And that was the eye-opener. I was like so blown away, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So in 2020, I woke up. I think a lot of people wake up to, all right, what's really going on, like the narratives and so forth. So luckily I didn't take the vaccine, but I was like, hey, freedom of choice. Of course it was killing me when I knew people were taking it that I loved. I'm like, I just don't think it's the right thing to do, But freedom of choice and no shaming.
Right.
That's the thing, is we can't be shaming each other. We need to educate each other and lift each other up.
Amen. Yep.
No, and I just kind of backed off anytime I had those arguments, right? I'd be like, hey, here's a website with all the research on these N95 masks. They don't stop viruses,
Yeah.
right? And magically, those web pages don't exist anymore.
There aren't
right?
any,
They've
yeah.
been scrubbed. But I was pointing people to that. Those things were still there during that first 2 weeks to the curve. And I'm like, these things don't do. Well, Fauci's been doing this for 40 years. You need to trust the experts. I'm like, yeah, but the experts have been publishing this for 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden it disappears. Right? So I'm like, okay, I gave you the information. I'm just going to walk away now. Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
But so what you need to do when you get to the debate phase and you're in the primary, you need to be the candidate that stands out and says that you are going to implement the Department of Manchester Efficiency. We'll call it DOME.
Yes.
or the Department of School Efficiency. We'll call it DOZE.
Yes. Do you want to be on it?
Yeah, these are those, right?
Yes. Yes. Doge, Moj. We are going to become efficient and accountable, and really, to me, we just need to make everyone healthy in our community and happy. And the excessive taxation, the excessive needles, the excessive lack of accountability, we're not doing anyone a favor when we don't hold them accountable.
Yeah.
It's not love.
I really want the visibility into the budgets all over the state. I'm concerned about my town because my taxes keep going up. I mean, in the last 2 cycles, we're talking about $1,700 in my tax bill per year, right? And if that cannot continue, that cannot continue for someone who is retired and is cannot plan their budget until the day they die, right? So I want visibility into the school board's budget. I want to know, okay, how much of this money is for salaries? How much of this is for building maintenance? And how much is this for garbage that we don't need?
Exactly.
Right? Because a whole bunch of garbage we don't need showed up after 1980. A whole bunch of it. Right? And then our grades went down, and we are 47th in the world as far as education and,
That's pathetic.
and educational
That
level.
is
That's
unacceptable.
Yeah.
When the Department of Education was formed under the Carter administration, we were number 1. We are now 47.
Wow.
The Department of Education did not do anything for us except take
Pull
our
us the
money.
other way around.
Yes.
Yeah. Pull this down.
But we are 47 in the world, and there's only 140 countries on the planet, right? And most of them are third world countries.
Yeah.
Right? Or dictatorships, or So we are just. The Department of Education didn't do anything for us, and that whole mentality has filtered down into every school board in the country, including Manchester, and it needs to be reversed. And they are going to go fighting and screaming and kicking, and hopefully someone like you can.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, I'm definitely the tough one.
So how do people reach you? What's the name of your business?
Chill Spa.
Chill Spa.
So it's chillspa.com.
Okay.
And I have a campaign page, cantorformanchester.com. It's KANTOR for Manchester. And they can reach out to me via email and my phone number, too.
And you have a show.
And I have a show, Chill and Heal Show, and I love to
Is it on this channel?
It is on this channel.
Oh, so you're used to this room.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'll be here in the morning with Dr. Sean Baker from the Carnivore Diet because I really believe we need to make Manchester healthy again. And there's all different ways of, for us to lift each other
My
up.
brother-in-law has told me to do that carnivore diet. My brother-in-law is a veterinary surgeon, right? So he's he's not a man doctor, a person doctor. He's he's big on the carnivore diet, and he gave me that book. So,
Okay,
yeah.
So now you have to read it, though.
and if you want,
Okay, I'll read it.
if you want, give me a question and I can ask Dr. Baker tomorrow.
All right, I'll get in touch with you.
That
That'd
would
be
be
cool.
awesome.
Be
He's
very-
so great. He is. He's really a crusader in this MAHA movement, and he just wants to help people feel better. And you don't need surgery.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah, you don't need surgery to feel better. It's like
No.
a way of life. and he has a company that he's grown to all the states to help people feel good. But I've been doing the carnivore diet with only a couple like little cheats for the past 3 weeks, and I feel really good. Yeah, I'm surprised because I love sugar. I'm like sugar addict, and I haven't been craving it, which is a surprise.
Can I have all your chocolate then?
Yes.
Yes. So, all right. All right.
So
Thank
next
you very
week,
much. Next week
we have candidate Chris Bright, who ran for Congress last time in CD1, and he'll be on talking to us.
All right. All right.
Awesome.
We'll
See you next week. Thank you.